So like I said, we're going to go ahead and put FFD modifiers on the wheels or on the tires so that they can squish down. I just want to get rid of this body geometry for now, so let's grab this locator that's right underneath the body, double click it, right click the viewport, and we'll hide the selection. And we can take a look at this front wheel. So FFD modifiers can be applied two different ways. One is to simply grab the geometry, come across to your modify panel, and if we scroll down a little bit, we can add in an FFD. So there's a number of options. It's all of these are cubes, so it can be, and they're subdivided, so 2 by 2 by 2, and likewise all the way down. I'm just going to use an FFD box. So if I click that, you can see the box has been made to fit around the shape of the tire, and we can just expand out this little rollout and just click control points. And by doing this and editing the control points, you can see that I'm going to edit the shape of the geometry that sits inside of it. So this is some really big changes just to illustrate what can be done with an FFD modifier, because it's really, really handy. With that done, if I just move back up, if I try to rotate the wheel, you'll notice that this is going to go along with it, and that's really not what we want to do. So when we're rotating the wheel around for a tire squish, you want it to squish at the bottom, and we don't want that squish to rotate around with the wheel as it's turning. So this isn't really the way that we want to be applying an FFD modifier to this geometry. So let's click the geometry, and I'm just going to remove the modifier from the stack. And the other way of creating and attaching an FFD modifier is to come across the create panel, come to the space warps, down to the geometric and deformable, and you'll notice that we have an FFD box here and a cylinder. I'm going to use the box again, so let's just click it, and I'm going to click and drag inside of the viewport, doesn't matter where for the moment, and just create how you would create a normal cube, but I'm creating an FFD modifier. And just right click to end the tool. In the modifier box, we have some options for it. Let's firstly align this to the tire. So I'm just going to hit Shift and A, grab this controller at the bottom, and that's going to just snap it across by aligning it. And I'm going to change the height to maybe 5. I don't really need that much height. The width to say 20. I think that looks okay for the tire. And the length, let's just scale it down, and maybe to say 25 might be okay. Alright, cool. So let's just duplicate this for a second. So I'm going to just going to hit Control V. I'm going to make a copy. That's fine, I'm not bothered about the naming for now. I'm just going to go OK, and I'm just going to move this to the side. And this is the one we're going to use. For this, I'll just do a quick demonstration of what the differences are. So right now this geometry isn't being affected by this by the FFD modifier. The way that we get it to be affected is to come across up to here, and you can see this bind to space warp icon, and this tool will bind it not by a hierarchy but just link them together so that the geometry is affected by this FFD modifier. So let's go ahead and do that, and click and drag on top. And you'll notice that if we now grab if we just move back to select tool and I grab the tire geometry, we've got this FFD binding WSM, which is world space modifier, and that's connected now to our FFD modifier, which we can go into and change some control points. So let's grab a hold of some of these, and we'll do a really big change so that you can see it really easily. Oh, let me just grab those again, pull those out. So this is a super big squashy tire right now, not what we're going to go for at the end result, but you get the idea. Let's just do that. So now you can see that this is sort of squashed down, a bit ridiculous, but it really illustrates the point. So remember before, if we go ahead and we'll do it with the back tire actually, and I just grab that and come across and make an FFD modifier in the modify panel. We'll do an FFD box. And I'll jump down to the control points. Let's just scale this out like we have. So we've got a different result already, purely because this FFD modifier is affecting the full wheel. So with that done, if we go and rotate the wheel, you can see that deformation comes along and now it's upside down. It's not really where we want. However, on this front wheel, if we start to rotate it, you'll see that it changes, and it stays at the bottom of the wheel because it's not connected to it, and that deformation is changing at the bottom, not the top. So it's always where we want it to be. So if we were wanting to squish this down, although it's not working perfectly right now, you get the idea. It's not moving around with the wheel, it's staying on the floor, which is really good. So let's start removing these, because obviously this isn't what we want. So I'm just going to remove the modifier, and that resets that wheel back. In this case, we come up and we do the same thing, just remove it so it's not connected. This won't actually delete the FFD, so we have to come in, delete this FFD. And remember, I made this copy so I don't have to worry about the length, width, and height again. So let's just hit Shift and A and pop that back in. And I'm now going to go across, and I'm going to hold down Shift and just drag this out. And I want to make an instance, so any changes I do to this first one are going to be apparent in the second one, and whatever else we do. So I'm just going to create another 2 of those. So we've got 3 copies at the end. Just hit OK, and let's start applying these to the wheels, or positioning them to the wheels. So it's 1, 2, and the third one across here, so that when we drop into and edit any of these, if we drop down and go to control points and I start moving some of these control points around, you can see the other ones are automatically updated as well. So we only have to worry about editing for one tire, and then the rest will come along for free. So that's pretty good. And before I go any further, let's just parent these into the hierarchy so they do actually come along with the wheels. So I want to parent this into this controller, this back one across here, and this one along here, and that one there. So that's all good. And let's use that bind to space warp to affect the actual tires. So this one to this tire, and likewise the other ones to their respective tires as well. And you'll notice something that just happened with this geometry. It seems that the normals have been flipped, so I'm just going to undo that really quickly. And let's try the other tires before we go any further. So let's bind that one. That one seems fine. I'm guessing that these tires are being mirrored across, so they're going to be a little bit funky. And that's fine. So, you know, with that done, because the normals have been flipped, all I'm going to do is I'm just going to drop in and find the normal modifier, just click that, and you can see that's going to pop those right back around. So fine. Let's just attach that in so the normals will flip. So I'm not worried about this too much. Just going to click on it, come across, and I'm going to hit normal. And that's one thing I didn't actually check with the geometry, which I should have done at the beginning, is just to make sure everything was fine and dandy for us to actually go ahead and rig. So with that done, in the next video we can go ahead, start editing these points to make it look like it's squished down to the floor, and we can also we can maybe come in here as well and go through and add a reaction manager, but we'll save that for the next video.